This tutorial will be short. We're going to create a simple contact us form that enables a website visitor to enter a message and some information. You can see here in our database, there is a table which uh, is used to store all the information that's been entered. And on the page, there is a image header and some text that instructs the user what they can do, including whether or not they want to opt into the email. We'll make up a, fake name here and just submit the form. Bob Bobman, email bob@bobman.com. We'll enter a phone number, and you see here if I try and enter a phone number that's anything other than numbers, we get a little validator that tells us the field needs to be a number. And intent there is that they can't unintentionally enter other data like characters or letters that shouldn't be in a phone number. And they get a little drop down here. They can choose whether they want to be contacted by phone or email. They can choose to opt in or not to the email, the regular email list. And then we can enter a message. So this is typical on just about any website. Um, We'll say I live Baserow, and we're submitting this at 5:52. Click the submit button, and we go back. We get a little response here saying the message has been sent and a little thank you. Now look in the form submissions, you can see at 5:52, we got a message from Bob Bobman saying I live Baserow, and you can see his choice for phone as opposed to email and his opt-in choice. And of course, we can use these data values in other pieces of the application, connect to those uh, database values here. So we also have one little column that's intended for administrative use if we want to mark that this has been taken care of. I have that column named done. So we're going to go ahead and replicate this application like we've done in the previous tutorials. There won't be much new here. Most of what you've seen so far in the tutorials will cover what we're going to do here, but I do want to explain a little bit more about how to handle import of CSV files. So we'll create a new workspace called tutorial. Um, what is this? A tutorial contact form. Contact us, and we'll create a new database to start out. We'll call this contact us. And now we need to create our table. So we could, as we have in the previous videos, just go over and manually create these fields and the headers for them and the data types. Um, and we could, of course, export the whole project, but we're going to just take a really close look at the differences between the different sorts of imports and exports we can handle here. Um, so you've seen that if you go to the home page, you can export this entire workspace by clicking the export data link, and then you can import that into another workspace, and that will export all of the databases and optionally all the data by default, all of the data that's in your workspace and any applications that are in that workspace. So that is a really slick way to move a project to another server or to take existing databases and all their contents and put them together with other projects. That's the simplest and easiest way to move entire systems around within the project manager, even on different servers. It's great for migrating projects or moving projects from a development server to a production server. But what we're going to do here is in our new database, we have this table. And what we're going to do to get the data over this time, instead of copying all these columns or copying the grid manually and pasting it in, what we're going to do is up here above the table, this is our original application, the one we're copying. I'm going to export this view. We're going to choose to export it to CSV and keep all of the encoding and column separator default options. Download that file, um, save it on our hard drive. Okay, so that's been downloaded. And in our new application that we're rebuilding, There are several options for import of CSV files. If we go to this new table, this default table that's been created, there are the default column headers name, notes, and active. These three dots up here, where we exported the CSV file, include an option to import a file. You can choose to import CSV or XML or JSON data. This import option is meant to selectively choose columns from any CSV that comes from any source into a schema of column headers that you've already defined in your new database. So in our new database, we only have a name, a notes, and an active column. In the CSV file we're importing, we have all of these existing columns that were in the previously existing database. And we can choose to assign any of those columns to any of these columns. So um, this is particularly useful if you have a CSV file that comes from another source. If you download a CSV, for example, from Amazon, or if you export one from a spreadsheet or from Google Sheets, those CSV file formats are universally used and a fundamental way to transfer data between computing systems. So you can take a file from any source and import it here and assign the existing fields you have to imported fields. What we want to do here is even a little bit simpler. So that's useful for external data. Another way to do it is to click on the New Table option. And again, you can import CSV files. You can start a new table. This is what we've done every time we've created a table. I'm going to call this new table form submissions. I think that was the name we used in the previous existing project. I'm going to choose to import a file. And I'm going to choose a file again. And the difference with this import is that when you click it, what it's going to do is create a new table, and it's going to automatically create a new schema. So it's automatically going to create headers and columns for each of these columns that are in the CSV file that you're importing. And you can see the data here, get a little view of it. So this is really useful when you want to build an application, build a database and application out of some existing data that you have, and you don't want to have to spend the time creating the columns and the headers. This just does all of that work for you. You click Add Table, and blammo, you've got a form submission table with all the right header names and all the data imported. So that saves a lot of time when you want to import data from any source. And we want to set the data types for these. So created on, we want that field to be a created on data type. So I'm going to change that here, and we can set it up as you've seen in the past. I want to make that a US time, and I want to include the time. Let's make that 24-hour or 12-hour. There we go. And so now you can see this is an actual created on data type. So when new rows get added, a new created on time will be added automatically by the system. This little done field, I want to be a Boolean field, so it shows up as a checkbox in the database interface. There you go. So that's been converted. Message is just some text. We could choose to convert that into long text, and let's go ahead and do that. So it's not just a single line, but a long text area. And if we change the height here, you can see what's been typed in. And then the email column, let's let Baserow know that this should be an email data type. Add the field, change that to email, and the biggest benefit here is that it will validate any input emails so that they are actual email formats. The phone number, also I set this field in the initial to be a number because I didn't want users to be able to type in a whole bunch of other additional numbers. We could, for example, or additional characters. I could, say do this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, so they can see what the default value is. Go ahead and do that. And then our preferred value, we're going to turn that into a single select value, which is a drop-down value. So we can choose a single select or a multi-select. If we want users to be able to check more than one item, we can choose multiple select and then single select. Blammo here. Uh, you can see it shows that we have some options already set. We could add our own option if we wanted to say, some other sort of communication like a signal or some other way of communicating. Um, let's go ahead and change that to a single select. And now you see you've got a selectable value. And it'll populate that with any of the values that are already in that column. And finally, for our opt-in, we want to set that to a Boolean. Make it true or false. There we go. We can edit the size of the columns, and of course, we can move them around and change the order. This looks good. Okay, so we've got our database. One final thing here. When we imported this, right, it imported the existing IDs that were in the previous database. There's no need for that here because Baserow automatically creates a unique auto-numbered field. Um, so we have no use for this imported column. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and set a primary field here, and we're going to make that the name as it was in the original database. And I'm just going to delete this imported column of IDs. We don't need those IDs. Those are created by the system. Okay, so I think we've got a working database. Now you've gotten a chance to see how different options for importing and exporting data, including entire projects and externally created CSV files, can be added to the database system. So let's go ahead and create our application to work with this data, our web form. So we have a contact us application, a form, and a message sent. Let's go ahead and create that here. New application, contact us. And then it gave us these default pages. Let's just go ahead and delete them. And we'll add a new page called form. And then we'll create a page called contact, or what was that? See what the name here was, message sent. So that's the landing page when the message it has been sent by the user. Okay, let's take a look at what our form looks like. I'm pretty sure I don't have this image, so I'm going to preview very quickly and download this image from our original application and save it on the hard drive. That'll work. And so we have a text area, and then we have a form with all of these different types of fields. So let's add them one by one. At the top here, we're going to put an image. And you know what? Just to get into best practices, I'm going to do what I usually do. I'm going to start with a container. I do like to also add a column container, which makes it easier later on if I want to add more things across the top. So for example, I want to add a button or something next to it, but we'll just make this one column for now. So now we have a nested um, container and a nested inside that a set of columns, which right now is just a single one. And in that single column, we'll add the image. It's good practice to do this so you don't have to move things around later and recopy things into a container if you need to adjust layout on a page. Okay, so we're going to add, it looks like I added an image. We'll upload it here. Take that image we just downloaded. Perfect. Now I'll add some text. And So what I actually want here is I don't want to add that text into the column header. I just want the image in the column header. So you can see here, I'm on the image. If I press this little button, the select parent, that'll actually give us the column header selection, and select it again, I'm in the container selection. So now if I click plus, it'll add something below that. And here's where I'm going to add some text. So you can see that is no longer inside the header. Okay, so let's go back and just copy the text we have here. Just plain old text. I'm not going to bother with Markdown. Good. Okay, and then we're going to need a form below that. Add our form. And inside our form, we want to add several data input values. So I think we had name for this first one. And then again, inside the form, we're clicking on plus. So just to make sure that's clear here, I'm adding a form or adding a field inside the form. If I wanted to add something below the form, I could click down here and add it by clicking that plus. So little detail there just to be sure that's clear. We're going to add another data input field. And let's see what we had here. We had name, email, phone, and preferred method of contact. So name, this is going to be email. And because we want an email here, um, let's say that's required. Let's also say name is required. And because we're making an email here, we're going to select email for validation. So we'll only let the user type a proper email address. Let's add another field. Make a data input field. And phone. And we want that. I want that to be numbers. Good. And then we had a drop-down selector here. So we want to give them a choice. And that choice will be preferred method of contact. Okay. And we're going to choose an option. So you can see we have the option to choose from formulas, and we can make this drop down or radio buttons. We'll leave the defaults, and we'll say phone as one and email. And we could even put in values for those. Okay, let's see what else we've got in this form. We have an opt-in checkbox and a large text box. So next we're going to add a opt-in checkbox. Call it opt-in. And we'll make that default value true. Yeah. And finally, a large text box, text entry field, data input, and we'll call this message. And the value is not required. We'll make this required. And we want this to be a multi-line text area field. And let's say we'll make that like 6 lines long. We could make it longer if we wanted. Something like that looks good. And we don't need to validate. That's just pure text. So I think we have everything we need for the form. Let's go back and check. Name, email, phone, preferred method of contact, opt-in, and message. I think we're good. So now we need to do something when the user clicks that submit button. So we will set the events here, add an action. And what we're going to do is create a row. I think this has all been seen before. We're going to use our local base row. the contact us database and the form submissions table that we created. And so it looks to see what uh, fields are available there. And we're going to populate those fields in the database with this form data. So the name, done. We are not going to, we could either set false or disable the field. Disable it here. The message, we are going to use the message field in the form data. So that's this field that the user has typed into. And for the email column in the database, we're going to select our email form entry. For the phone number, we're going to select our entered phone number. The preferred method of contact will be that true false checkbox. And then, oh no, I'm sorry, not the preferred. Oh yeah, it's not a drop down or not a checkbox, but a drop down. And then the opt-in will be the opt-in true false checkbox. And then we can add an action. After that row has been created, we will open a page. And what we want to do is open our message sent page. So let's take a look at that page. We'll recreate it here based on what we have. This is very simple. We're just going to have a header and a little bit of text. We could also do this with Markdown, just as easy. Create a header font and a text font. But we'll do this here the way we did it in the original application. Message has been sent. Let's add a text fill here and grab the existing text we have. Great. Okay, so I think we should be done. Let's go ahead and preview it. Oh, you can see. And remember, the difference between publishing and previewing is when we preview, it doesn't actually make any permanent changes to the published application or the published website. We just see a temporary development version of this, and we see the version of exactly the page we're on instead of opening that application at the um, at uh, the start page. So here we're going to open this at the form. Let's see if we've got a image here. It's still just loading that for the first time. I can see what I want to do is center this header. So let's go to our style and um, actually go into the, I don't want to center the header. I want to center the image. So we can go into our style, or we can go into our theme overrides and center that. That looks better. We could put some alt text. Let's call that header. Okay, let's refresh that. Okay, looks good. Please share any questions you have. You can select whether you prefer contact by phone or email. And, I prefer to style these things, I think, in the other for these forms. To me, it looks better um, when they're not taking up the full screen. So I think I may want to adjust this a little bit. Let's go ahead and set that so the entire form is, let's see if I can select that parent there. Now I've got the form and set that width to medium. To me, that looks a lot nicer on the eyes. You can do the same thing with the text up here, but I think we're good for this at the moment. Okay, so let's refresh that, see how it looks. Good. Okay, yeah, I think I like this text also centered. So there's always a little styling to do. Let's do this and we will center it. I think make that style also medium. It may have been a good idea to add another container so that I could just size all the things in that container the same way and work with it that way. So one more time, let's see how that looks. I think that's good. Please share any questions you have. You can select whether you prefer to be contacted by email or phone. And if you want to join our email list, please select or please check in the the opt-in box. Let's add this guy, Billman, and email bill@billman.com. Phone number 1234567. Let's say he wants to be contacted by phone. He does not want to be opted in. And we'll just say, hi, guys. Okay, let's submit this. And we get our message sent page. And if we look in our database, in the form submissions table, there is Bill Billman submitted at 6:16, and we've got all of the info he sent properly recorded. And of course, we can choose internally to select that done field if we've handled that message. And we have this initial default table, which we can delete. Okay, I think that is a complete version of that application. Thanks for watching. We'll continue with the next little bit, which will be a complete website layout that will tie into these previous last tutorials and make use of them. Thanks for watching.